Hi and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to SuperGrads. My name is Abhyansh Sir and I'm back with another session on the important concepts of grammar that are frequently asked in your IPMAT Indore examination. So yesterday's session, students, was all about the different kind of conditionals that we can have, and the most repetitive being past conditional. ये हमने कल के वीडियो में कल के सेशन में देखा था. Now, today's discussion, students, is around another very important topic, one of those topics जो exam में काफी repeat हो रहा है, and that is subject-verb agreement. The verb has to agree with the subject. So, of course, पूरा topic पढ़ने जाएंगे. There are around 20 such rules for it. But आज के session में we are not going to discuss all the rules regarding subject-verb agreement, but the rules जिन पर questions सबसे ज्यादा previous years में आ रहे हैं. So I hope everyone is excited. I hope everyone is ready. But before starting our session, I have some important thing to share with you as well. So Bacha Bati, it's time we go back to studies and you can kickstart your IM journey now with 25% discount, and this is the coupon code that you can use. BTS, that is back to study. 25, this is the code that you can use to get 25% discount on all online and offline batches. So that was about the offer that we have for you guys. अब सब्जेक्ट वर्ब अग्रीमेंट की तरफ अपनी अटेंशन फिर से शिफ्ट करते हैं स्टूडेंट्स. जस्ट गिव मी अ सेकंड. And here it is. It's time we begin with subject verb agreement. So I'll start with this line. Subject verb disagreement is like wearing mismatched socks. Technically functional, but everyone's going to notice. Subject verb agreement हमें करना है. I'm talking something about subject verb disagreement. So if there is disagreement between subject verb agreement, काम चल जाएगा. आप लिख दोगे. It might look कि आपने अपना काम कर दिया, but you are bound to be laughed at by people. So that is what this line says. Subject verb disagreement is like wearing mismatched socks. Technically, yes, socks will function as they are supposed to do, but people are bound to laugh at you. So it's time we do not commit these mistakes and let's focus on what exactly is subject verb agreement. Subject verb agreement में हम कर क्या रहे होते हैं? So subject verb agreement में if you look at different books, there are some books that they say that there are 50 rules. There are some that they say there are 100 rules. There are others जिनमें 20 rules हैं, 30 rules हैं. So different books have different number of rules. But what matters here is रूल एक ही है और वही रूल सब जगह फॉलो होता दिख रहा है स्टूडेंट्स. व्हाट इज दैट रूल? इट सेज singular subject. It says singular subject will take a singular verb. And plural subject takes a plural verb. Plural subject takes a plural verb. So that is what the basic rule of subject verb agreement is. Verb and subject ka agreement as the topic, as the name suggests, that the verb must agree with subject in name, in number, in tenses. सारी चीजों में verb should match with the subject. Now, how do you decide, students? How do you decide? There then comes the bigger question. So important helping verbs if we can focus. So helping verbs, पहले तो helping verbs को आपको देखना होगा कि singular कौन से plural कौन से. So helping verbs, singular helping verbs are is, was, has, does. These are singular verbs. इनके plural forms are were, have, and do. Now, when we talk about helping verbs का segregation करना काफी आसान होता है. कौन से सिंगुलर है कौन से प्लूरल है एंड एट द सेम टाइम ये चीजें आप बचपन से पढ़ते आ रहे हो सो यू आर फेमिलियर विद दीज थिंग्स बट व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेन वी हैव मेन वर्ब्स स्टूडेंट्स वहां से कहानी स्टार्ट होती है so the common notion or the common thing that we understand is when we add ses to noun when we add ses to noun it becomes plural but when we do the same with verb के साथ आप ses लगाते हो so it is not plural instead it becomes singular instead it becomes singular I'll come up with an example as well क्योंकि कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन जो मैं आपको दे रहा हूं it's only 50% unless I come up with some good examples that you understand so if I write a singular subject student boy. So what verb will you use with boy? Will you use play or will you use plays, students? What do you people think about this? Boy plus play or plays? Boy के साथ ses नहीं लगा हुआ है that by default means that it is singular. But how do you decide which of play and plays is singular? So as written here, verb plus ses is singular, so boy will take the verb plays. अगर यहाँ पे boys लिखा होता, had it been boys students, so with boys you would have used play. So that is how you decide कि main verb को कैसे categorize करें, main verb में कैसे decide करें कौन सा singular है कौन सा plural है students. So that is one of the ways of dealing with such questions. अब इसके कुछ वो important rules जो एग्जाम में बार बार आ जाते हैं. So the and rule, first rule is our and rule students. So and rule एक basic बात आपको कहता है कि when two subjects join two subjects joined by conjunction and इनके साथ आप प्लूरल वर्ब यूज करते हो that's the basic thing that everyone understands if I come up with an example here as well so if I write a and b are best friends so if I say a and b are best friends that by default means we have two subjects and joined by and so they take a plural verb so and verb is not something and verb or the and rule should I say is not something which is very important as far as your exam is concerned but its exception is very important its exception is very important so इसका exception क्या है इसका exception ये है students एक sentence लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे time and tide wait or waits for none time and tide wait or waits for none so when two subjects are joined by and but they convey a single idea they convey only one idea that by default means कि वहां पे singular verb होना चाहिए so time and tide is working as a single unit you need a singular verb students I know one example may not be enough for you guys so let's have a couple of more students examples 2 and examples 3 idli and sambar idli and sambar is or are my favorite breakfast. Similarly, if I write drink and drive is or are a punishable offense. So where do you think what verb do you think should fit in this context? So when I say idli and sambar, so idli alag nahi, sambar alag nahi. I'm talking about a combination. So idli and sambar, students, is a single dish. It's a single dish. So a combination of idli and sambar is my favorite breakfast. And rule, जहां जहां पर भी conjunction and होता है, you use plural verbs, but इसके exceptions important है और एग्जाम में यहाँ से क्वेश्चन होता है. Then drink and drive is or are a punishable offense. So drinking is not a punishable offense, driving is not a punishable offense, but driving while you are drunk or while you have been drinking, this is a combination. तो ये एक offense होता है. So it should be drink and drive is a punishable offense. So that is how you decide and rule के साथ and conjunction के साथ कहाँ पर plural verb use करना है, कहाँ पर singular verb use करना है. So that was all about the and rule and its exception. Then there's another rule related to conjunction, students, and this rule says when two subjects are joined by, now when two subjects are joined by any of these conjunctions, the students, conjunctions like as well as, with, along with, together with, including, besides, like, unlike. So when two subjects, students, when two subjects are joined by any of these conjunctions, इनमें से अगर कोई भी conjunction है, so in this case, the verb agrees with the first subject. The verb agrees with the first subject. First subject का मतलब ये, if the first subject is singular, the verb must also be singular. If the first subject is plural, then the verb must also be plural. That is what this conjunction rule is all about. So let's have one example for this, students. She and her sisters work works. इसको and को replace कर लो, students, with work or works in the same company. So if I have a sentence like this, that she with her sister work or works in the same company, so you have to first look at the conjunction. आपने देखा conjunction with है. So the verb must agree with the first subject. First subject she. She is singular subject. So singular subject will take a singular verb. ये rule और इस rule का repetition इतना ज्यादा हुआ एग्जाम में that you cannot undermine its importance. बहुत बार repeat हुआ एग्जाम्स में. The basic rule surrounding these conjunctions. So that was conjunction rule number one, students. Next conjunction rule that we have is when two subjects are joined by or, either or, neither nor. When two subjects are joined by any of these three conjunctions, in this case, the verb agrees with the nearest subject. The verb agrees with the nearest or closest subject. इस रूल के ऊपर भी स्टूडेंट्स आप जाओगे, आप प्रीवियस ईयर पेपर्स देखोगे, you'll realize that yes, There have been many such questions based on this rule. So इसका अगर मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल बताऊं, मिस्टर शर्मा और his brothers come or comes here every Sunday. Now this is your sentence, students, for the same conjunction rule, rules related to or, either or, neither nor. In all these cases, the verb agrees with the nearest subject. जहां पर verb है उसके nearest subject क्या है आपको उसको देखना है यहाँ पे. So verb ये है, subject ये brothers है students. So brothers being plural subject will take a plural verb. Main verb में आप कैसे decide करते हो? So the verb that has ses is singular और जो बिना ses वाला होता है that is plural. So it should be plural verb come. Mr. Sharma or his brothers come here every Sunday. This is a routine action. So that was all around conjunction rule number 2. It's time we move to the third rule, students. What do we have now? So we have rules related to collective nouns, and yes, if you are to ask कि सर आज के सेशन में सबसे ज्यादा important क्या है, I would say rules surrounding collective noun is super important because collective noun के ऊपर दो different rules होते हैं. So the basic rule says collective nouns generally take singular verbs. Collective nouns generally take singular verbs. Collective nouns के साथ क्या होता है? They generally take singular verb. Now you should focus on the adverb that I have used. The adverb here is generally and not always. क्या जरूरत थी मुझे generally लिखने की? I could have written always as well, but मैंने नहीं लिखा. Because there are some cases where they do not take a singular verb. So वो case important है और उस case के questions exam में होते हैं. So generally they take singular verb, but ऐसा कौन सा situation है जहां पे singular verb नहीं होता है, वो important है. So when there is division in collective noun, when there is division in collective noun, it takes plural verb. It's time I just come up with an example here. So example अगर लिखें, the jury are divided in their opinions. Now the jury are divided in their opinions. So jury is a group of judges. If I say there are 3 judges, तीनों जजेस ये डिसाइड करते हैं कि किसी कैंडिडेट को सेलेक्ट करना है, सो देयर इज नो डिविजन. तीनों जजेस ये डिसाइड करते हैं कि किसी कैंडिडेट को रिजेक्ट कर देना है, दैट इज ऑल्सो नो डिविजन इन कलेक्टिव नाउन बिकॉज सबका ओपिनियन सेम है. बट among the jury, if one of them decides कि select करना है, the other two says reject करना है, now there is difference in opinion. Now there is a dissension among the jury. So in that case, you will use definite article. In that case, you will use a plural verb, students. In that case, you will use a plural verb because there is division in collective noun. These collective nouns are now not working as a single unit. Instead, they are working as individuals. That is my reason of using plural verbs here. So I hope you get the point. So this was the rule surrounding collective noun, students. Next up, we have one-off rule. One-off rule में क्या होता है, students? So when a sentence starts with one-off, The subject here that you use would be plural, and the verb that you use will be singular. Now, we are only 20 minutes into the session and you'd be scratching your head कि सर ये क्या बात हुई? अभी तक तो यही डिस्कशन चल रहा था, singular subject, singular verb, plural subject, plural verb. So what has changed here? I would say nothing has changed. ये क्यों हो रहा है ऐसा? इसका रीजन समझो. Uh, we are using a singular verb because of this one. We are using a singular verb because of one. इसका एक, if I say one of my friends, one of my friends is a doctor. So what does this sentence mean, students? This sentence means out of the many friends that I have, I'm choosing one. One of them is a doctor. So the reason I use a singular verb here is because of this one. ठीक है, of all my friends. So एग्जाम में दो तरीके के क्वेश्चंस होते हैं. नंबर वन, there could be an error related to verb. Number two, there could be an error related to the subject. Friends की जगह friend लिखा होगा. That is again a type of grammatical error that you see in exams. So that is about the one-off rule, students. Next is indefinite pronoun rule. So rule ये है that indefinite pronouns जितने होते हैं, they always take singular verb. So indefinite pronouns always take a singular verb. So indefinite pronouns are pronouns like someone, somebody, no one, nobody, anyone, anybody, everyone, everybody, each, every, ये सारे indefinite pronouns होते हैं students, and they always take a singular verb. Everyone, everyone is responsible. Everyone is responsible for the cleanliness of the city. Cleanliness of the city. So it should always be is and not any other verb. You need a singular verb. So the moment you see indefinite pronouns, आपके दिमाग में पॉप अप आना चाहिए कि मुझे नहीं पता ये किन सब्जेक्ट्स की बात कर रहे हैं. These are indefinite, so they will always take a singular verb. Priyansh, I would say not now. Give yourself a couple of more months, and you should start taking mock tests probably around end of September. I think that is a good time to start mock test. So I hope you understand कि कहाँ से ये चीजें पढ़नी है. I think we are done with all the concepts. It's time we practice 10 good questions, and this is my way of implementing skills. मुझे हमेशा लगता है कि ग्रामर जब भी आप पढ़ते हो, ग्रामर टेस्ट करने का सबसे अच्छा तरीका होता है these error detection type questions. So guys, here is your first question. Here's your first question. The sentence is segregated into four parts, and you have to identify which part of the sentence contains a grammatical error. You have to identify which part of the sentence contains a grammatical error here. Indian film industry. Yes, of course you will be. You will be. अभी बहुत time है हमारे पास. I'm pretty sure if you have the correct strategy with you, correct time management, आप अच्छा बिल्कुल करोगे. Carry creature. Hi, good morning, Bunty. I hope you're doing well. Here is your first question. Here's your first question, guys. So हमने major rules देखे around subject verb agreement. Now we have 10 questions to deal with. Let's see if you can crack this one. So let me answer this question, students, for you. इंडियन फिल्म इंडस्ट्री इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी वन ऑफ, देखो वन ऑफ अभी हमने लास्ट में देखा, ठीक है, अभी हमने वन ऑफ देखा लास्ट में। वन ऑफ द डैश सिंबल ऑफ, आई थिंक, एज आई सेड, नाउन हमेशा प्लूरल होना चाहिए। सो वन ऑफ द सिंबल्स ऑफ कल्चरल एंड सोशल लाइफ। सो बच्चा पार्टी, देयर वाज एरर इन पार्ट सी ऑफ द सेंटेंस। There was error in part C of the sentence. जो भी चीजें अभी आपने पढ़ी हैं, these were the important concepts that have been quite repetitive in the examination. And इसके basis पे we will answer 10 questions. We are done with the first one, students. I'm ready for the second one. Here is our second question for today's session. Here is the second question on subject-verb agreement. Second question, students. The boy possessed three beautiful pens, but he would not show them to anyone. Now, the moment I see the boy, मैं वहीं रुकूंगा. I'll not read the entire sentence. I'll tell you why. Because the moment I see the boy, ये रहा singular subject, and singular subject should take a singular verb, so it should be possesses. Possesses. This is your singular verb, students. This is your singular verb. So that was our question number 2 for today's session. Let's move to question number 3, students. Can you answer question number 3? It all relies on the basic rule of subject-verb agreement that we study. Singular subject, singular verb, plural subject, plural verb. इसी बात के ऊपर आप ये question answer कर पाओगे. So the question here is, considering the amount of stress she is under, it is not surprising that she keep getting migraines. Now she लिखा हुआ है singular subject. अब मेन वर्ब को सिंगुलर प्लूरल कैसे बनाना है, आई थिंक इस पर डिस्कशन हो चुका है. With verbs, if you add ses to verbs, they become singular. बिना ses वाले जो verbs होते हैं वो plural होते हैं. So this is plural, of course, and singular verb चाहिए मुझे, so I'll write it as keeps. So there was error in part D of the sentence. There was error in part D of the sentence. Yes, Bunty Jain, that's correct. Let's move to the next question, students. Success or failure do not affect one who is bound to one's duty. Now, conjunction rule number 2 that we discussed, that when subjects are joined by or, either or, neither nor, in that case, the verb agrees with the nearest subject. Nearest subject क्या दिख रहा है, students? Nearest subject is failure. Failure is uncountable noun. Uncountable nouns always exist in singular form. And because they exist in singular form, that goes without saying that they will take a singular verb. So it should be does and not do in this case. So that is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. Each of the survivors. Now, this is a question from the rule we studied around indefinite pronouns, students. So I think I have given you a very big hint here that this is around the indefinite pronoun rule. Can you guys answer this one? Each of the survivors of the tsunami have been offered is incorrect. It should be has been offered psychological consultation to ease their trauma by some top consultants. So there was error in the second part of the sentence. Exam में IPMAT इंदौर में error detection type questions नहीं होते हैं. But there are questions of sentence correction that are filled with multiple errors. And one of those errors are from these rules, subject verb agreement related rules से errors होते हैं. So that was your question, students. Moving on to the next one. Lack of winter rains have delayed the sowing of wheat crop in this area or in any particular area. I can give you a couple of minutes to go through this. So lack of winter rains. So winter rains is not your subject. Lack is your subject, students. And lack of winter rains has delayed the sowing of the crop. Has delayed the sowing of the crop. Here is the next question, students. Neither the girl nor her parents was present to receive the award. Two subjects joined by neither nor, the verb must agree with the closest subject. Verb यहाँ पर है. What is the closest subject here? Closest subject is parents. Parents is plural subject, so the verb must also be plural. Neither the girl nor her parents were present to receive the award, which is quite unfortunate because award mila hai, but nobody was there to receive it. Uh, Yatharth, has is used with singular subject, have is used with plural subjects. That is how you decide where to use have or where to use has. So I hope there is clarity now. Here is the next question. The whole block of flats, including two shops, were destroyed in fire. So the block is your subject, students. Block. अब block flats का है किसी और चीज का है, it doesn't make any difference. Block is your subject and block is singular subject. So it will take a singular verb. The verb should be was. Singular subject, students. So that is how you decide which verb to use. And that, students, brings us to the last question of today's session. Last question of today's session. Question लेंदी कितना भी हो सकता है, बट आपने जो सीखा है आप उस पे स्टिक करो. आप लैंग्वेज में मत फंसो. आपने सिंगुलर प्लूरल पढ़ा है, बस उन बातों पे ध्यान दो, स्टूडेंट्स. तो द राइज ऑफ ATMs, telephone banking, the internet, and now smartphones have led to a decline of 5 to 8% a year in the number of visits made by customers to branches. Now the important, or should I say the actual subject here, is the rise. किस किस का राइज हुआ है वो सिर्फ आपको डिस्ट्रैक्ट करने के लिए वो एक ट्रैप है. प्लीज अवॉइड फॉलिंग इनटू दैट ट्रैप. द राइज ऑफ ATMs and the other things has led to a decline. You need a singular verb here. A singular verb is all you needed for this question. And Bacha Bati, that brings us to the end of today's session. So yesterday we had a discussion around conditionals. Today's discussion was around subject-verb agreement. Tomorrow I'll come up with one more session that is around the most important rules of prepositions. So I'm done for today. आज का सेशन आपको कैसा लगा मुझे कमेंट सेक्शन में आप जरूर बताना. I'll see you guys tomorrow at the same time. Thank you so much. Bye everyone.